Chapter 1. A Boy Who Loved to Draw. When I was 6 years old, I read a book. It was about the jungle. The book said, "Snakes can eat animals whole. They do not chew, they swallow." This made me think and wonder. I picked up a crayon. I wanted to draw what I saw in my mind. I drew my first picture. It showed a big snake. The snake had eaten an elephant. From the outside, the picture looked simple. It looked like a long, round shape. It looked like a hat. I showed the picture to the grown-ups. They looked at it. They asked me, "Why are you drawing a hat?" But it was not a hat. It was a snake with an elephant inside. I wanted them to see it. So I made another drawing. This time, I showed the inside. The elephant was clear in the belly of the snake. The grown-ups still did not understand. They said, "Stop drawing. Do math. Do history. Do geography. Drawing is not useful." I felt sad. I put away my crayons. I stopped drawing. When I was only 6 years old, I gave up my dream. I lost the dream of becoming an artist. I grew up, I learned other things. But inside my heart, I still loved pictures. I often thought, grown-ups never understand. They need everything explained again and again. It makes children tired. So I decided I would talk only about easy things with grown-ups. I would not show them my snake drawings anymore. Instead, when I met new people, I talked about other things. I asked simple questions. I asked, "Do you like stars?" I asked, "Do you like birds?" I asked, "Do you like games?" If they answered kindly, I felt happy. I thought, this person understands a little. But if they said, "No, I like serious things. I like numbers," I knew they were like the others. And so my life went on. I grew into a man. But deep inside, I still carried my first drawing, the picture of the snake and the elephant. Chapter 2. The Lonely Sky. When I grew up, I became a pilot. I learned to fly airplanes. Flying made me happy. I flew high above the earth. I saw mountains, rivers, and forests. I saw the wide blue sky. But flying was not always easy. Sometimes I was alone for many hours. Sometimes I felt very small in the big sky. One day my airplane broke. It broke while I was flying over the desert. There were no houses. There were no people. There was only sand. I had very little food. I had very little water. I had no mechanic to help me. I had only myself. I had to fix the plane. It was my only hope. If I could not fix it, I would die. So I worked hard. I looked at every part. I tried to mend it. Days passed. The sun was hot. The nights were cold. I felt tired and alone. Then, on the first morning, something happened. I heard a little voice. It was soft. It was gentle. It said, "Please draw me a sheep." I was very surprised. I looked around. Who was speaking? There was no one. Only sand, only sky. The voice came again. "Please, draw me a sheep." I stood up, and there, in front of me, was a little boy. He was very small. He had golden hair. His eyes were bright. He was looking at me. He was not afraid. He was not shy. He just stood there and repeated, "Please, draw me a sheep." I was shocked. I was lost in the desert. I was worried about my plane. And now a child stood before me. Where did he come from? How did he walk across the desert? It was a mystery, but he did not explain. He only asked again, "Please, draw me a sheep." I had no paper. I had no colors. I had only a pencil, and I had old paper from my work. But I wanted to please him. So I began to draw. Chapter 3. The First Drawing. I took my pencil. I looked at the boy. He was waiting so quietly. His eyes were full of hope. I drew a sheep. It was the best I could do. But the boy looked at it. He shook his head. "No," he said softly. "This sheep looks too sick." I do not want a sick sheep. So I tried again. I drew another sheep. This time the sheep had horns. It looked strong. The boy shook his head again. "No, this one looks like a ram. I do not want a ram. I want a sheep." I felt tired. I had been fixing my plane. Now I was drawing sheep. I did not know what to do, so I made one more picture. It was a simple box. I drew 3 holes in it. I said, "The sheep you want is inside this box." The boy's face lit up. His eyes shone. He clapped his hands. He cried out, "Yes! That is the one I wanted." He looked at the box for a long time. He smiled. He was happy. He whispered, "The sheep is perfect. It is just the right size. It will have grass to eat. It will not be lonely." I was surprised. The boy was pleased with a simple box. He saw more than I could see. He used his imagination. He believed the sheep was inside. That was how I first met the little prince. He was a child full of wonder. He asked for what he wanted, and he believed in what he could not see. Chapter 4. A Mystery Boy. Slowly, I began to learn about the boy. He did not answer all my questions. He never told me much at once. He only gave small pieces, little by little. I learned he came from far away. He was not from my land. He was not from any country on earth. He came from the sky. He came from a tiny planet. His planet was no bigger than a house. It was round, like a ball. It was so small, he could see the sunset many times a day. He only had to move his chair a few steps. When he felt sad, he loved to watch the sun go down. One sunset, then another, then another. Sometimes he watched 40 sunsets in one day. I asked him, "Were you so sad that day?" He did not answer. He only looked at me with quiet eyes. I knew he carried a secret. The boy did not like grown-ups very much. He said they always wanted numbers. They asked, "How old are you?" They asked, "How much does it weigh?" They asked, "How much money does it cost?" But the little prince never cared about numbers. He cared about beauty. He cared about joy. He cared about friendship. He said, "If you tell grown-ups about a new friend, they will ask, 'How old is he? How many brothers does he have? How much does he weigh? How much money does his father earn?' But they will never ask, 'Does he like butterflies? Does he like to draw? Does he collect stones? Does he watch sunsets?' That is why I do not like grown-ups." I smiled when he said that. I remembered that no grown-up ever understood my drawing. And I thought, this boy is different. This boy will understand. Chapter 5. The Baobabs. Little by little, I learned more about the boy's tiny planet. It was very small, but it was also very pretty. It had flowers. It had grass. It even had volcanoes. But there was also a danger. On his planet, little seeds fell into the ground. Most seeds were good. They grew into flowers or grass. But some seeds were bad. They grew into big trees called baobabs. Baobabs look small at first. They look like tiny sprouts. But if you let them grow, they become huge and strong. They push their roots deep into the ground. They break the soil. They can break the planet. The little prince said, "You must pull up the baobab sprouts every morning. You must pull them up when they are small. If you wait too long, it is too late. The roots go too deep. Then the planet is destroyed." He looked very serious. It was the first time I saw him look so strict. He said, "Children must learn this lesson early. If they wait, the bad plants will take over." He explained to me again, "On my planet, I work every day. I clean my volcanoes. I pull up the weeds. I pull up the baobabs. It is easy work if you do it on time. But if you wait, it is impossible." I thought about this. I remembered that no grown-up ever understood my drawing. But this time, I wanted to make a picture. So I drew baobab trees. I drew them big and scary. I wanted children everywhere to see the danger. The little prince said, "This is very important. It is like life. Small problems must be fixed early. If you wait, they grow too big. Then you cannot stop them." He spoke with wisdom. He was only a little boy. But he carried lessons for the whole world.